Sigh of relief for Rockton residents affected by the 2021 Chemtool disaster as a judge approves the final settlement from Holian Insulation. Nearly 7,000 residents will share the $5.5 million settlement from Holian Insulation Company as part of a second settlement in the class action lawsuit. The conditions of the final order were the same of the preliminary agreement the judge approved in June of this year. In June 2021, the state line experienced a devastating explosion and fire at Lubrisol's Chemtool facility, which at the time was the largest manufacturer of grease in the United States. Friday's agreement could mean a record for Winnebago and Boone counties. Added to the previous $94.5 million settlement, this $5.5 million settlement brings the total settlement to $100 million. After expenses and fees, residents who applied for a claim could receive more than $500. The next deadline for the attorneys to provide a status report will be on or before Monday, December 29th.